A lot of you seem to enjoy my Robin Hood video, and after reviewing that and Shrek, I'm still in kind of a Disney mood, so let's move right along with the next one. The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. Now, The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh came out in 1977, and that's almost 5 years after Robin Hood came out, so that's quite a gap in between animated releases for Disney. And while that was going on, I know Disney was doing a lot more in the live action, and something tells me that at this point they really started hitting a wall creatively. They weren't really coming up with a lot of new, fresh ideas. They were just kind of recycling all the ones that were already kind of in the works when Walt Disney was alive. And around this time, they're really starting to drain that well. And The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh is an example of that, because The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh is just a compilation of shorts. Yeah, it's kind of like the package films in the 40s where they were making a bunch of shorts, stitching them together, releasing them. The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh is kind of in that same vein. Disney had already produced several Winnie the Pooh shorts, some of which won awards. People love Disney's take on the A.A. Milne characters because they were pretty faithful to how they were depicted in the original Christopher Robin stories, but also the sheer amount of personality that the voice cast really brings to these characters. That makes these characters come alive more than anything else, and the fact that these stories are pretty small. They're not very big on plot. It's mostly just your favorite 100 Acre Wood characters hanging out, having a good time, maybe getting into a little bit of mischief, but then always coming back with a big party at the end. Now, that's not the deepest material, but it is effective for a short and is faithful to the A.A. Milne books, so really everybody was happy, and I think Disney thought so too, because they ended up compiling them into The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, added a few extra scenes for transitions, and a nice little end scene at the end to wrap everything up that I'll definitely talk about at the end of this video. So yeah, the bulk of the story and animation from this movie is taken from those shorts. As far as a package film goes, I think this is one of the more effective ones because it all focuses around Winnie the Pooh. It's all his stories and his friends' stories. So already there's a much more cohesive theme and central idea surrounding this movie than, I don't know, Fun and Fancy Free or Melody Time. And this movie starts in true Disney fashion with a storybook. The storybook opens. Before the storybook even opens, you know that this movie is going to be a little different than probably other Disney movies you might be familiar with, because it starts and it's live action. You're in this kid's bedroom. You see live action stuffed animals of Winnie the Pooh, of Tigger, of Kanga, and Owl, and everybody, until the camera stops showing you all of Christopher Robin's bedroom, supposedly, and settles on this book, and it opens, and we're brought into the story of the 100 Acre Wood, narrated by Sebastian Cabot, who was Bagheera in the Jungle Book, and he just has a fantastic narration voice. He practically narrated the Jungle Book as Bagheera. And this movie has a bit of fun with the fourth wall, kind of like how Robin Hood opened, and you see all the animals on the pages of the book. This movie takes it a step further, where Pooh will talk directly to the narrator, ask if he's in the next chapter, get all excited about it. And what's really cool about this movie is the storybook aesthetic of the 100 Acre Woods. Well, yeah, it's still Disney in the 70s, so everything looks a little cheaper. The animation's a little rougher because of the Xerox process, but the rough, hard lines of the background and the character designs do match, in this case, the storybook look of the world, and also the original sketches from A.A. Milne. Those were also pretty rough and sketchy and black and white. This is basically the color version of those sketches, but also making the characters a little bit more cuddly and cute and memorable and marketable, which seems to be what Disney does best. And it's right here with the introduction to all the characters where we get our first song, and it's the Winnie the Pooh song, and it's written by the Sherman Brothers, probably my favorite Disney composers of all time, and they elevate this movie from feeling just like another package film or a collection of shorts to something deserving of a theatrical release. From the Winnie the Pooh theme to I'm Just a Little Black Rain Cloud to The Wonderful Thing About Tiggers, all these songs are so memorable and will get stuck in your head forever. Even if you just saw this movie once as a little kid, I bet you already know these tunes as I'm saying the names to you. And even with this kind of introductory segment where we're getting into the world of the 100 Acre Wood, it really doesn't waste any time throwing us into the first chapter or scenario or short or whatever you want to call it, and it's Winnie the Pooh and the honey tree. And it's when he goes to find honey in the honey tree. Do I really have to explain it? It's pretty self-explanatory. And this is when Winnie the Pooh gets a balloon and he's covering himself in mud, so he looks like a little black rain cloud, and he goes to steal some honey from bees, and it's just adorable and charming, and it's really cute. And there's not really much else to say about this short other than Pooh just getting relentlessly fat shamed throughout this movie because he goes to visit Rabbit at one point and he eats all of his honey and then gets stuck going out the back door. And he just has to starve himself for days and days until he's skinny enough to slip right out. And watching this in 2024, I'm a little surprised that there isn't a disclaimer at the beginning of this one like there is for Peter Pan and everything about the insensitivity of this movie. But then we move right along into the next short, and I think it's called The Blustery Day. Winnie the Pooh and the Blustery Day, I think was the name of the short. And this is just the next chapter. It's chapter 2. It's a very windy day, which of course doesn't bode well for Piglet, who we're introduced to in this section. And he's so little that the wind is starting to sweep him away, and he's basically used as a kite by Pooh holding on to his scarf. But if you think this windy weather is a problem for Piglet, it's even worse for Eeyore because it keeps knocking over his house of sticks, and even worse for Owl, who actually has a pretty stable, sturdy treehouse. It's nestled right in the tree. It's actually built with like carpentry. It's not just a bunch of sticks, and it just gets wrecked by the wind. And I honestly didn't see that coming because that's got to be some hurricane level winds to knock over that house. So now they're trying to find Owl a new house, and they actually end up giving Owl Piglet's old house, which I guess has been in Piglet's family for generations, but Piglet just gives it up to Owl because Owl needs a house. And it's a really kind, touching moment. It's just so sweet. But then Piglet's homeless, so then Pooh offers to let Piglet stay in his house. So I guess all is well with the world. Again, these shorts aren't particularly deep or anything, but they are very character driven. And you do feel bad for these characters when misfortunes befall them, and you really want to see it righted. And that's kind of what I think has endured with these characters, that you care about them. They all have this childish naivete about them, and it just kind of warms your heart to see how they all come together and support each other, and it's just very sweet. But that blustery day turns into a blustery night, and he has a little bit of trouble sleeping. So he goes, grabs his gun from under his bed. Yeah, Pooh is strapped in this movie, and that's just really funny to see. And he's keeping watch over his house, make sure nobody comes in. But then Tigger comes in, and I'm actually kind of surprised Tigger doesn't get his head blown clean off, because you just can't go barging into people's house in the middle of the night. Tigger, what are you doing? And this is our proper introduction to Tigger. He sings his Tigger song, and he tells Pooh about Heffalumps and Woozles and how they'll steal all of his honey, and that just makes Pooh even more nervous. So he starts having dreams about Heffalumps and Woozles. And this sequence is probably the most creatively animated part of the whole movie, but for me it just kind of comes off as a knockoff Pink Elephant sequence. The Pink Elephant sequence in Dumbo, I've talked about at length in my Dumbo review, and I have a lot of mixed feelings about it because it really freaked me out as a kid. I did not like that sequence at all, and it actually deterred me from watching Dumbo for most of my childhood. I actually really didn't watch Dumbo until I was a teenager because I saw that Pink Elephant sequence on the Disney Sing-Alongs VHS tape and was like, nope, I'm a pass, because those dead-eyed demons from hell are terrifying. And watching Winnie the Pooh as an adult, I was actually kind of hoping that this would have some of that freaky imagery brought back to really emphasize the fear of these Heffalumps and Woozles. And aside from some kind of spooky, creepy vocals coming from Thurl Ravenscroft, there really isn't anything all that creepy about this sequence. It's actually quite tame. And it's weird because they clearly reuse some of the animation from the Pink Elephant sequence in this sequence, but with the more friendly Winnie the Pooh style coat of paint. Kind of how Robin Hood reused a lot of animation in that movie, there's a little bit of that here too. But I don't know, there's something about the designs of these elephants that are just not as creepy as those elephants. And I think it's the eyes. I think because the Heffalumps and the Woozles, they have like these big, expressive, Disney-friendly eyes, and those don't. Those are dead inside. They're just hollow corpse shells of balloon elephants. And if I'm being honest, they're still kind of creepy. And now we come to our last sequence or short in this movie. And this one is all about Unbounding Tigger. It's a very Tigger-centered episode. There actually isn't a whole lot of Pooh in this one. It's very Tigger focused, and Tigger and Rabbit, you know, they don't get along. Rabbit is so tired of Tigger coming in, bouncing around, messing up his garden. So he has the idea that him and Roo and Tigger are going to go into the woods when it's all misty out because there's this great fog that fell over the 100-acre wood. So it's very easy to get lost. And they're going to bring Tigger into the forest, into the mist, and then they're going to leave him and abandon him. And then he's going to get so lost, and then he'll promise never to bounce again. But what actually happens is, well, Rabbit gets lost. Tigger and Roo, they end up finding their way out okay, but it's Rabbit who gets lost and gets so scared, and Tigger actually has to go and rescue Rabbit. So that kind of backfired. But you do still get a moment of Tigger promising to never bounce again, and that's when he bounces to the top of a tree and realizes that he's scared of heights. So when he's stuck up in the tree, he promises to never bounce again. Rabbit is ecstatic, and he comes on down, they help him down, and everything seems to be good. But now Tigger is very sad that he can never bounce again. There's this big guilt trip / gaslighty moment where everybody else in the 100-acre wood is all talking about how, oh, we missed how Tigger used to bounce. We liked him better when he was bouncing. And then Rabbit just kind of capitulates and is like, yeah, I guess I did too. So he releases Tigger from his no bouncing contract, and then Tigger bounces and they all start bouncing. Even Rabbit starts bouncing because he is a rabbit after all. They do bounce. And that's the end of that section. It's another happy ending. All three of these scenarios, you know, they get into a little bit of mischief, maybe have some relational issues between the characters, but everything gets resolved in the end every time, and you know, they're all good friends. So it's a very positive, uplifting story, and it's just adorable. All these characters are so likable. Their personalities are so clear and apparent from the first lines that come out of their mouth. That's just a good time. It makes you feel good watching it. It kind of gives you a little bit of hope in humanity, that if these animals can be so kind and thoughtful, that, you know, maybe humans aren't too far gone. But now we come to the epilogue, or the little closing bit of this movie. And it's the one scene that just has a twinge of melancholy to it, and it really kind of brings down the movie a little bit, and not in a bad way. I think this is probably my favorite scene in the whole movie, but it really brings everything down to earth, because this whole movie, we're going from adventure to adventure, we're having a lot of fun, we're meeting all these friends, and Christopher Robin is just playing with everybody, he's having a good time, and then we come to this very personal conversation between Christopher Robin and Winnie the Pooh, and it's just the two of them. They're just walking through the 100-acre wood. They're playing Pooh Sticks Bridge, where you drop a stick in a river, you run to the other side of the bridge and see whose is the fastest. Let me know in the comments if when you were a kid you actually played that game, because I did. My brother was a huge Winnie the Pooh fan, so of course we would play Pooh Sticks Bridge whenever we go camping or wherever we'd find a bridge. But then Christopher Robin starts talking about what's going to happen when he goes off to school, and that he can't just go out and play with his friends anymore. It just gets a little bit sad where he's starting to think, oh no, is he saying goodbye to his childish toys? Is he going to have to go and be an adult? Is this going to be the end of Mary Poppins all over again? Is this going to make me cry? But unlike Mary Poppins or Pete's Dragon, where they have to say goodbye to the magical creature and it's this tear-jerky moment where you know they're probably never going to see them again, here Christopher Robin makes a promise with Winnie the Pooh that he'll never forget about him, that he'll always come back and visit when he can. That even when he's 100 and Pooh is 99, they're still going to be best friends. And that just warms the heart. It's so cute and innocent. Yeah, as he gets older, the Winnie the Pooh stuff is probably going to fade out. And this scene does work on its own as a nice wrap up to the adventures that we saw throughout this movie, while still kind of leaving the door open for more adventures in the future. But honestly, I can't think of a better way to wrap up this movie. It ends on a very kind of low-key note, which is consistent with the rest of the movie. It's a very laid-back, leisurely paced series of adventures with a bunch of colorful characters that you just love to watch interact with each other. That's the joy of Winnie the Pooh. Watching these movies, watching some of the other Winnie the Pooh content that's out there, it's just seeing all the personalities interact. You don't really care what adventure they go on, as long as you see Winnie the Pooh being a addict for honey, Eeyore being depressed, Tigger having ADHD for days. All those character personalities and idiosyncrasies just seem to work no matter what the scenario is. But now I turn over to you guys. What do you think about the many adventures of Winnie the Pooh? Whatever you think, let me know in the comments. And if you like this video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe for more content, and hit the notification bell to be notified every time I upload a video. And as always, I'm Colby. This is my nerdy talk, and I'll see you in the next video.